Okay, good morning everyone, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning, Erev Shabbat Kodesh, as we are starting together Parashat Mishpatim. Our Parashat, we know, deals with many laws. It's very hard to talk about the Parashat in a nutshell because there are many mitzvot in this week's Parashat, and so it's overall the theme is man to man, Mishpatim. Mishpatim is the civil laws of morality, of how to build a functioning society. One of the mitzvot that are listed in our parasha is a mitzvah called lending money. The pasuk says, "Im kesef talveh et ami," and there's a lot of midrashim. There's a lot of ideas about this in this week's parasha. A lot of lessons about how the Torah phrases that you should give a loan. But one of the things is, it says over here, Im kesef talveh et ami. Says the Midrash, that when you lend somebody money, bo ur'eh, come, says the Midrash, come and look. Kol mi sheyesh bo osher, anyone who has money, v'noten tzedakah la'aniyim, and gives that money to the poor, ve'eno malveh b'rebit, and does not lend with interest, ma'alin alav ke'ilu kiyem hamitzvot kulan. The pasuk considers it as though you fulfilled all the Torah. Shne'emar, like it says, kaspo lo natan beneshech, ve'shohad anaki lo lakach, ose ele lo yimot le'olam. Whoever does this will not falter forever. It's a pasuk in Tehillim, and it says over here that if you don't lend with interest, then you will not falter forever. It considers this person a very holy person. So over here you see how important it is to lend without interest. Today people have businesses and people invest. When you invest with somebody, you're not lending, you're an investor. It's not a problem. It's only a problem when you're lending. Okay, either way, what's problematic in this midrash is the wording. It doesn't say whoever gives tzedakah and doesn't charge interest. It says whoever has in him wealth and gives that wealth and doesn't charge interest. Why does that matter? Why do you have to tell me whoever has money? Does it matter if I have or if I don't have? You could have just said simply, whoever lends money without interest. What is the wording? Whoever has in him wealth. Obviously, if I'm giving, by the way, it means that I have. I can't give if I don't have. So what does it mean? Whoever has wealth and then gives it. You don't have to say that. You can just simply say whoever gives from their wealth. Furthermore, very unusual idiom. Kol mi sheyesh bo. Doesn't say whoever is wealthy. Doesn't say ashir. It says kol mi sheyesh bo osher, which literally means whoever has wealth in him. Literally, that's what it means. Whoever has wealth in him. Now, no one has wealth in them. I have money. I own money. My money's not in me. So what does it mean? Whoever has wealth in him. Over here, there's a beautiful answer from a sefer Hazon LaMo'ed. And the Hazon Mo'ed teaches us something that we've spoken about in the past, and it's something that we can never forget. And look what he says over here. He gives a beautiful example. Imagine there's a fellow. This guy is a miser, stingy as they come. And, people usually knock on the door. The guy shuts the door in their face. One day, his daughter is getting married. He has the consuegros over, the mechutanim. They're in the house. They're having l'chaim. They're meeting the family. Shalom aleichem. And there's a knock on the door. The guy opens the door, and he sees there's a poor fellow standing there. And this poor fellow's shivering. He says, please, I need to feed my family. I need firewood. Now, this man is a very stingy guy by nature. 9 out of 10 times, he usually doesn't give. What am I? I work for my money, you go work too. That's usually what his response would be. But take a guess. How do you think this miser, this stingy fellow, how do you think he responded on such a day? He has inside his future in-laws. You can imagine, of course, the guy pulled out his wallet. Of course. Here you go. Take. What do you need? How much? Or would you call this guy a person who's a giver? Would you call this guy a tzaddik? He gave tzedakah, it's true. But would you call him a person who's a charitable person? He's not a charitable person. How come? Because the reason he gave is not because he felt bad. It's not because he cared. He gave for one reason. He gave because of his image. What would happen if tomorrow this guy goes home, this poor man, and he says, I met a very wealthy, very generous guy. And he tells his friends, you should go collect on this block, on this house. You can imagine the next day if the friend go to that same house, when the in-laws aren't there, they're going to not get a penny. They're going to get an earful from this fellow is what they're going to get. Why? Because the guy is not really a Baal Chesed. He's not really a Baal Tzedakah. The guy, he gave because people were watching. But really he himself, he's not a charitable person. Says over here, the Chazon LaMoed. That's what our Midrash means. Our Midrash says, Kol mi sheyesh bo osher. Not whoever's wealthy. After 120, God doesn't care if you were wealthy. Wealth is not yours. Hashem gave you the wealth. Hashem gave you your talents. Hashem gave you your house. After 120, God's not going to ask you about your gifts. God's going to ask, I don't want to know I don't want to see how much money you have. I want to see how much money you gave. A person after 120, they're going to wake up in the Olam HaEmet, in the real world, and they're going to see how they came short in life. And what happens usually, these wealthy people, they know you could buy whatever you want with your money. You could bribe your way in. So imagine a wealthy fellow, he sees, oh my God, there's a better seat. Okay, he's going to pull out his purse. He's going to pull out his checkbook. Okay, how much could I write? How much could I give? I have a lot of money. It's going to be too late. You can't give it after 120. Ki lo bemoto yikach hakol. After, whatever you have, whatever's in the bank, you lose. Actually, it's only the tzedakah that the person did give. It's only the money that we don't have, that we got rid of. That money we could actually take and use in the next world. A person in this world, person is not able to boast. Upstairs, they only accept canceled checks. Very good, Nate. A person in this world has to give, but not because people are watching. A goal of a person in this world is to transform. That's what we're here to do. We are here to change. Our essence, we're here to change. Not just to do, not just to give, but to become what's called a giver. Ashrei, says the Midrash, whoever has sheyesh bo osher, that the wealth is in him, that he not only has wealth, but he himself became a wealthy person. He became a giving person. That person is who has the tzedakah, righteousness. He enjoys giving. He understands why it's important to give. He realizes that when I give, I'm emulating God. Such a giver is really wealthy in spirit. That is really a person who has indeed wealth inside of him. And that is a person that the Midrash is talking about. This is, my friends, something that we have to start realizing. That in life, we have to stop thinking of mitzvot as external things. We have to, externally it's easy to do. The real avodah is a person inside. Inside is behind closed doors is how I work on my inside. Inside is not when my consuegro is over. It's when no one's there. I'm working on my character. I'm working on me. This is very hard. It's much easier to do good than to become good. To do is to do. The way we become is through doing. We have to make sure that we are internalizing what we do, allowing it to change us, to transform us. If you remember when Hashem came to the Goyim, He offered them the Torah. He said to Esav, do you want it? Esav said, what does it say? It says, you can't kill. Esav said, what do you want from me? I kill. That's what I do. Not for me. He went to Ishmael. What does it say? You can't steal. Not for me. It's what I do. We steal. Moav, no adultery. Well, it's what we do. We commit adultery. And 3 examples the Midrash gives of nations that God went to, offered them the Torah before us, and they said no. Pasuk says, Adonai, Misinai ba, Vezarach Miseir lamo, Hofi' mehar paran ve'ata miribebot kodesh. God, before giving us the Torah, He came first from Seir, from Esav, from the other nations, offered it to them. They said, no thank you. The Jews said, how much is it? God said it's free. We said, we'll take 2. Right? Very good. Jackie Mason. So Hashem offered the Torah to the Goyim first. And He gives them as an example a mitzvah that actually, it's very interesting. When they said, what does it say? He tells them, don't kill, don't steal. Now the truth is, that's not really accurate. It is accurate, but it's not fully accurate. I'll give you an example. You're sitting on a plane next to a goy, non-Jew. They see you wearing a kippah. They see you putting tefillin. They see you with a Star of David. They say, you're Jewish? You said, yes, I am. Very proudly, you say, I'm Jewish. Of course, yes. And they say, well, I heard about you Jews. What is the difference between Judaism and other religions? What does it mean to be a Jew? If I want to convert, give me some examples of what I have to do. If I want to convert, what do I have to keep to be a Jew? Well, what would you tell this goy? What examples would you give him? What would you say? What would you say? Think about it. To be a Jew, you have to what? I wouldn't say to be a Jew you have to not kill. It's not one of the examples I would give. Why? Because you can't kill even if you're not a Jew. I wouldn't use don't steal either. I wouldn't use can't commit adultery. Those are things you can't do anyways. When I tell a guy what it means to accept Torah, to be a Jew, I would use examples of things that are Shabbat, kosher. I wouldn't give him examples of things that Goyim also have to keep. Because anyways, you have to keep them. So now you think about it, God, He did that. When He came to Esav and offered them the Torah. And Esav says, what does it say? God says you can't kill. Doesn't make sense. Why? Because the truth is, if you think about it, anyways, Esav's not allowed to kill. Even if you don't accept the Torah, one of the 7 mitzvot for Goyim is don't kill. Either way, he has to keep that. Either way, Moav can't commit adultery and Ishmael can't steal. Even if you don't accept it. So why does God pick precisely the 3 examples of things that anyways are part of the 7 mitzvot that all the Goyim have to keep? It's a great question. But the answer is, because God is coming over here saying something very deep. What He was telling Esav, Ishmael, the Goyim, was that the mitzvah of don't kill as a Goy is not the same caliber as don't kill if you become a Jew. Don't steal. There's 2 reasons why you don't steal. One is because you're going to get caught. Society needs to function. That's one. But then there's another reason why you shouldn't steal. Because he's not supposed to steal. It's not okay to steal. And, thieves, by the way, if you look at thieves, they don't steal from each other. You ever thought about that? A group of thieves, they're friends, they don't steal from each other. They respect each other. I don't steal from you. How come? The guy's a thief. Why is he not stealing from the guy next door to him? The answer is because they understand that for them to succeed in their practice, for them to function, for them to be able to coexist, they can't steal from each other. So they don't steal. But the guy is a thief. The guy steals every night. He robs banks. He steals from people. The guy's the biggest thief. But from each other, they don't steal. Not because he's an honest guy, but because that's what's needed for us to be able to coexist. Same in a community. There's many people today in the world that they don't steal. In America, a lot of people don't steal. But a lot of people, really, they only don't steal only because that's what you need for society to function. But if you give them a chance, if the lawyer comes in, the accountant says you could get away with it, or if no one was watching, a lot of people that usually don't steal, in that case, they may steal. Because inside, they never transformed. God says to go to Esav, if you want to become a Jew, to accept Torah doesn't just mean don't steal. To accept Torah means you can't steal, and you also have to be more than that. You have to not be a thief. That's what it means. Lo tignov. Not don't steal. It means don't be a thief. Don't be, lo tirtzach means don't be a murderer. A lot of people, they don't kill, but deep down, they wish they could kill. They're angry. If you gave them a chance, they would do it. I want to kill that guy. You've yet to accomplish lo tirtzach as a Jew. Maybe as a goy, that's okay. You're not doing it's fine. For goyim, that's the bar. But as a Jew's essence must change. It's a different requirement. That's what the Midrash is saying. Misha yesh bo osher. You gotta have in you wealth. The wealth has to be something that we acquire. Giving. We have to become givers. Not enough to give. You could have a guy, he gave tzedakah his whole life, he gave hundreds of thousands, but he never became a giver. He never transformed. The guy's giving was really taking, whether it's a write-off, or he's getting honor, or people are recognizing, whatever it is. A giver has to be someone who transforms. His essence is giving. That's a higher level. That's a level that's required, my friends, from every Jew. That's something that we have to strive for. It's not easy, but we have to try to get there. To the point that we inside want to be that. By the way, we saw this morning in Pirkei Avot class, the Mishnah says in chapter 3 that there are certain sins that a person could do that he loses olam haba. The Rambam has a whole list, I can show you in his book, a whole list of things that if you do them, you lose olam haba. And it's a wild thing to think about it. Talking about a guy for 80 years kept the whole Torah. 80 years old, he did one thing wrong, and then he loses olam haba. What happened to 80 years of good? How did that guy wiped out because he did one bad at the end of it all? But maybe what the Mishnah is saying is based on what we're saying today. Because if a person could for 80 years do good, and then in one moment do bad at the end, that means that really all along the good that he did, he never internalized it. It never became part of him. He was just doing it externally. It really wasn't part of his essence. It didn't transform the guy. It didn't change the guy. We're not talking about a guy who made a mistake. The guy makes a mistake. We're talking about a person who then goes out and then decides to become a different person, does a different thing. That means that for 80 years he wasn't really you. You were just doing it on the surface. person has to understand that the goal of the mitzvot is to transform inside. And look at what Rav Hirsch says. And I'll end with this. Rav Hirsch says something so beautiful. We know the tablets are divided into two. Right and left. Man to God and man to man. Look what he says. Man to God, the right. The demand for the recognition of God begins with the demand of the mind. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Lo yeh. Those mitzvot, how do you keep those commandments? Believe in God. That's up here. But it's not satisfied with mere spirit. It demands the expression of the spirit in letter. It has to be that my belief in Hashem translates into action. Whether it's in my words, lo tisa, number 3, or activities of Shabbat, number 4, and even family, kibud avayim, number 5. The social laws, mitzvot, ben adam lahavero, 6 through 10, the left tablet, they begin from the opposite. They start with letter. They start with deeds, lo tirtzach, lo tin'af, lo tignov. Then they move into words, lo ta'aneh. But they're not satisfied with those. In his words, they're not satisfied with letter only. They demand control of the spirit and the feeling. Lo tahmod, don't covet. This expresses the important idea. All religion, also called honoring God in spirit. The right side is worthless if the thought, the idea of God, is not strong enough to exercise its power practically in the control of our words and doings of our family and social life. Our deeds, our way of life must prove that our religion is genuine. On the other hand, all social virtue is worthless and crumbles at the first test, as long as it aims at letter, at outward correctness, is satisfied with being considered righteous and honest in the eyes of fellow men, but refuses inner loyalty, does not depend on that pure inner conscience that only God sees and God judges, and which has its root and nourishment only in quiet but constant looking up to God. All spirit must be developed into letter, into act. All letter, all act must have their source in spirit. That is the inspiration that hovers over these fundamental ideas of God's Torah and fuses the two tablets, the religious and the social, into one inseparable whole. So in each section we have a progression. The godly section, ideas, words, action. The social laws, action, words, ideas. The two sides of the Decalogue are mirror images of each other. They reflect identical values from different vantage points. The Decalogue is a carefully balanced collection of laws. It testifies to Judaism's pragmatic approach to the world, aiming to legislate for human beings who function in the complicated world in which we live. But it insists that our lives be permeated by God and a sense of conscience of Yirat Shamayim. And so this is what we've been talking about today. That a person, as a Jew has to perfect their character. It's not about what we do on the outside, it's about who we become on the inside. To change, to go against our grain, to become a better person. That's not easy. Very hard to change. Very hard to change. I'm jealous, I'm upset, I'm impatient, I'm judgmental. But like building muscle, the only way is when it's hard. It's when it's hard, when you're tested, when somebody doesn't do what you asked. You're getting red, you're getting hot. Beautiful. Beautiful. You have now an opportunity to work on your arrogance. Ga'ava. Not because people are watching you. You're alone in the middle of nowhere. This is me working on my humility. Become humble. Become humble. To transform in my character. It's not an easy thing to do. But that's something that we have to strive for and hope to accomplish Be'ezrat Hashem. Okay, we'll stop over here, my friends. Have a wonderful day and a Shabbat Shalom. And hopefully we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.